I believe that I am live. I'm just going to wait till it comes up just so I know it's all working. Yeah, looks like something's there. Yeah, there we go. Alright, today we are going to be continuing this rig. I've done a little bit more off stream. So last stream we rigged up the character in the front view. Just really simple controls. And then we also moved all the bones and redrew the grease pencil objects for the second view. Now off stream, I've repeated that process for the side view and for the back 3/4 view. And interesting to note, actually yeah, so I've done the back 3/4 view, I've done the back view. Oh, that's interesting. Ah yes, I temporarily added the time offset modifier. So I did the back view, and I've started work on the next set. Actually, yeah, I've done a lot of them. So yeah, we're going to be doing the side view now. So hopefully, I think we're going to get the main turnaround done today, and we can start adding time offset modifiers and rigging that all up. I'm also considering adding little head turns to every view, so I can add a little bit of subtle movement while animating. But let's see. Alright, let's go into wireframe view and get going. Now, one thing that's really annoying is that I've made the each limb a linked object of the other. So the downside of that is until we add the time offset modifiers, they're gonna show the same drawing even when they shouldn't. So here, this is not the drawing I want to be shown, but it is for now. So one thing we need to consider is that we're continuing to draw this arm, not the front one, on this side of the turn. Alright. Let's just get these into place. Yep, that looks right. That looks good. Now which one is this? Yeah, that's right. Ooh. Looks like that. No, that's fine. Oh, that's not fine. Okay, now it's fine. Thanks for your generosity. It's helpful to see the rigging done in real time. Thank you for your generosity. I really appreciate it. Yeah, no, I think it's been a lot of fun, and I think I really struggle with the more making tutorials that are really granular. And what I mean by that is the kind of tutorials where like you show every step. I don't know. I don't like making those. I prefer making tutorials where I show the concepts, the ideas behind it. The downside of that is that it is a little more difficult to follow. So hopefully these live streams are going to be helpful for people who need it to be a little slower because maybe they're a little newer to Blender or grease pencil or rigging. Because honestly, each of those elements is like a whole another skill set. You could know Blender really in depth for 3D modeling, and then you come to grease pencil rigging and you're like, oh my goodness, I don't know what I'm doing anymore. Yeah, I'm glad it's helpful. I really enjoy it as well. I think That's the other thing about, the other reason I don't like making super detailed tutorials is, even though I'm an animator, I don't like editing videos. And so the more detailed of a tutorial I have to make, the more, the harder editing becomes, you know? And so if I get the opportunity to show every step without having to do any video editing, that's ideal. That's a dream for me. It's going to be interesting. Now that we're starting on the other side of the turn, so like on where it's basically just flipped, we're able to get away with not drawing as many keyframes, because we can kind of just copy from a previous one. So if I go to the previous side view, I'm going to select this ear, edit, go into edit mode, copy the contents, select the other ear, and then as we turn around to this side view, I'm going to make a new keyframe just by shifting it around, and because I've got auto keyframing on, it just creates a new keyframe. And then I'm going to delete the contents, paste this in. It's going to be a bit weird position. That's okay, we can just move it into place. There we go. I'm going to do the same with this ear. Copy it, select the other ear, go to this one, make a new keyframe, and paste it in. Where to go? Here it is. I don't know if that looks right, doesn't it? I guess so. I'm going to select from this one, paste it into here. That looks better. Now, I know that doing a live stream still probably isn't as helpful as doing a full-on like in-depth tutorial. But that's okay, because I do move quite fast when I'm going live. Okay, now let's just move these into place. Yep, that looks right. Let's take a copy of the other view, this one. Let's duplicate that into place and flip it. Move it into the right position. We'll do the same thing for this. Now to move the eye into place and the eyebrow. Now, what I've noticed is that on each angle, the eyes kind of go to different levels, like vertically. And technically that's a mistake, you know, that's an inaccuracy, that's not how things rotate. But I think that's really what gives character to this more 2D style of a turnaround. David McInnes, thank you for joining us. You should consider enabling Blender screencast keys. That way people can see. Yeah, that's a good idea. I'm going to try doing that now. Screencast keys, Blender add-on. Let's see if it's already installed first. Screen keys. Okay, it's not. Yeah, here it is. Get add-on, download. Yeah. Alright. File. No. Control, comma. Install from disk. Blender add-ons. Screencast keys. This one. Okay. There it is. Let's enable it. Okay, it's down there. If I press, oh, that's way too small. Okay, I think that's a good size. Should I make it black? Yeah, I think so. And a shadow. Or maybe we should have a white with a shadow. Yeah, then it'll stand out. Oh, even better, a background. Oh, lovely. Okay, cool. I'll just make the font size a little smaller. Okay. So just gonna move these into place. Now, I need to select this eye. Oh. I need to go to here, duplicate that into place. No, not duplicate. I need to copy the contents. So that when I go to here and I make a new keyframe and delete it and paste it, I know that that's what it should look like. Now, equally, I should copy this contents, and on this one, why does that not look right? Oh, why is the eyebrow visible on that frame? Okay, there we go. Now I need to do the same thing with the eyebrows. Copy. Paste. Why is it only... Ah, I only selected the color, that's why. Why does it look different on this view? It shouldn't do. Wait a minute. Is that the right eye? It's not the right eye. Okay, I've messed up. It's okay. I need to flip the positions of these eyes. This needs to be behind. Meanwhile, this one needs to be in front. Okay, now I can select this eyebrow. Actually, this eyebrow for this one. Oh, I actually, yeah. Let me know if these screencast keys are helpful. Okay, now I'm going to do the same thing over here, where on this one, I'll copy the contents there, and on this one, copy it into place with the reference. Now I need to delete the keyframes for these bones past that frame because that's not going to be helpful. Alright, I'm glad to hear it. I'm hoping one day Blender gets some dedicated rigging upgrades for Grease Pencil. Would love to see Moho like Smart Bones and the such. Yeah, I agree. I'm hesitant though. I feel like there are a lot of features that in theory sound nice, but actually you can already achieve them, and so by adding these kind of convenience features, you might be taking away from the like design language of Blender, if that makes any sense. Like Blender's clearly made to work in a certain way, and if you kind of break that could be problematic. But I also totally agree that I would love to see some rigging features added designed to help people with Grease Pencil. I think for me, the biggest one would be changing the way that Grease Pencil keyframes work, because at the moment, it's a bit of a pain. You kind of have to either choose between drawing each frame one after the other, and every time you like copy a frame, like because you want the same image as previous in the animation, it's Blender sees it as a unique drawing. So you can't like set it up so that it would reference the same data unless you use a time offset modifier, but then it becomes harder to add keyframes. I would be interested in looking into geometry nodes though, because I feel like I've seen people start incorporating geometry nodes into their 3D rigging workflows. And so I'm wondering, now that Grease Pencil is compatible with geometry nodes, I wonder what we can do with it, you know. Hello, Golden. Nice to have you here again. Glad you could make it. This is why I use OpenToons for rigging. It's an easier workflow with the plastic tool. That's fair enough. I tried getting into Toon Boom, and it just, I don't know, it didn't click for me. But also previously to that, I had no, actually, again I tried to get into OpenToons again after I first got into Toon Boom for work. And I thought, this is actually really similar to OpenToons. So I thought, well, maybe people are underestimating it. Maybe it can do more than people think. And then I tried it, and I realized, oh, I don't know. It's not Toon Boom. Which, obviously, it's not, you know, no two softwares are identical. I don't know. I just like the Grease Pencil workflow a bit better for me. You always use... Oh, that's interesting, because I know that the hand-drawn features in OpenToons are really good as well. So it's interesting that you would choose to switch to Blender for hand-drawn. I mean, that's fair enough. Hand-drawn animation is great in Blender too. I think that having shape keys for Grease Pencil objects, although it needs some smart bones. Yeah. I see what you mean. That would be really cool. I don't know if if that's really in the cards, as it were, in the way that they've set up Grease Pencil objects and data, but that would be pretty cool to see. Yeah, Toon Boom, it's the licenses. I just so annoying. What can you do? What software to use for storyboard or animatics? I don't really do a lot of that stuff, but when I do, I use Blender Grease Pencil. I know there are some really useful storyboarding add-ons that I've used. I don't know. I know the one that I used most recently was called Story Pencil, but I don't know if that's compatible with the latest version of Blender. But I know there's a bunch of different ones out there. Some of them are paid for, some of them are free. But also, even without add-ons, you can do some pretty good storyboarding using Grease Pencil and the video sequence editor in Blender. Some cool stuff you can do there. I just realized I haven't been updating the body. That's updated. So this one, I need to update this drawing. So that would be from this. Yes, but I'm gonna need to redraw that belt buckle. that's not how that works. You can't just flip an unsymmetrical thing like that. Oh wait, that needs to come all the way over. Okay, let's, oh wait, and this as well. Nice. Now, I'm going to try and just duplicate this. Yeah, that should work. Oh, man. No, that's not going to work. Hang on. Is it? Okay, so I'm following this. Yeah. No, that should be fine. So I'm not really using full sentences today to explain what I'm doing, but hopefully you still get the idea. No, I don't think that year is right. Well, maybe it is. Maybe I already replaced it. No, that does look better. Yeah. Okay, now with the exception of the arms and the like, and the ears, and the eyes, everything else should look exactly, pretty much exactly like the first frame. So that looks good. Oh, except that should be on the other side. Can I mirror pose? No, I can't. But I can take the transform value. Oh, it's on 0, of course. Never mind. Just gonna move it over and eyeball it. Now that is gonna be exactly the same, but flipped. This as well. these are still called .l and .r. So I should be able to select the limbs and copy that and shift paste. Kind of messed up the previous frame. I must not have keyframed it properly. That's right. Let me just make sure this is the right bone. Yes, it is. It worked. I need to update this as well. Okay, wait. Let me just get rid of the colors for now. And I should just be able to flip that, right? Yeah. Oh, it's low resolution. And this needs to be on the other side as well. At this point, it would have been easier to just redraw it. But it's okay. Why is this suddenly behind? Odd. Okay. Okay, now I should be able to just duplicate this and just flip the entire... No. No, it should just be a duplicate. That should be fine. Oh. In fact, let me just take all of the objects except for those in the head. Where's the torso? Oh, I see. The armature needs to be in a separate collection called Raymond Armature. Alright. Now I can select everything except for that in the head. Can I move the order? Yeah, there we go. And now I can duplicate it. Oh, why is the ear and the eyes not in the head? Okay, now I can select everything except for the objects in the head. And I can duplicate it to the front. There we go. Yay, spinning. And we can even hide this guy. Oh wait, no, the eyes. I need to adjust the eyes. But why is that so offset? Why does that not look right? Oh, it's, of course. I need a duplicate of this that is flipped. Oh, and I need a duplicate of this that's flipped as well. Okay, now we can hide the reference and watch our spinny guy spin. Yay! I guess next we need to add the time offset modifiers. I'm just mesmerized. I can't make any more progress because of the spinning. That was a lot of work, and there's still some more work to go, but hopefully it'll all be worth it when I'll be able to animate lickety-split, as they say. As the cool kids say. Okay, let's take this body as an example. Let's add a modifier and search for time offset. We'll set it to fixed frame. And now it's broken. It no longer updates. That's perfect. And then in the armature, we'll select the bone for the body, and making sure we're in pose mode, we'll go to the bone property settings, go down to custom properties, add a new property. We'll call this Ray for Raymond, body, time offset, or just TO. Set the default value to 1. I'll make sure it's an integer. And minimum is 1. Maximum, let's say 100, because we want to be able to add more drawings later if we want. And we'll say library override. I don't intend to do that. Oh, we made a lot of progress yesterday. Yeah, we did make a lot of progress. We well, yeah. So it was off stream. I didn't stream yesterday, but just so far in this stream, we've gone from this view all the way to this view, and now we're linking up the grease pencil keyframes to the armature using custom properties and the time offset modifier. So now we can right click on this property and go copy as new driver, or by right clicking and just pressing N. And now when we go here, we can right click on this thing and press P for paste, and now it's driven by this property. Yay! Now we need to make sure we keyframe that, go to the next frame, and each frame we just tell it what frame to be on. Perfect. And now we need to do the same thing for every grease pencil object. Fortunately, we can make that easy by selecting all of the grease pencil objects, shift selecting the body, pressing F3, and searching for copy modifiers. Now that should work. Now they all have a time offset modifier set to fixed frame. However, we do need to make each custom property manually. Okay, so I'm just going to copy the name of this one, just so that I can easily keep the naming conventions consistent. Going to add a new custom property, set it to integer, paste that in, call this R, minimum of 1, maximum of 100. Okay, go to the forearm, new property, integer, forearm R, minimum of 1, maximum of 100. I forgot to set library override. I don't think that's important, but I want it to be consistent at least. Control L. Okay, cool. With the copying modifiers. Yeah, you can. Thank you very much for that. For me, generally, outside of like the core keyboard shortcuts like move and scale and that sort of thing, I just use F3 and search for whatever operator I want. But that's probably, I should probably learn what different menus can be accessed with different shortcut keys. Help me speed up rather than having to type out every operation I ever want to do. Okay, now I'll go to here, new property, integer, paste, and minimum of 1, maximum of 100. Library overridable. Alright. This part This part I could see automating somehow, because this is really tedious. L. Forearm L. Integer. Hand L. Collar. Head. Ian Fairley. I've personally found rigging in OpenToonz better, but animating is way more annoying. I've found the plastic tool doesn't give a lot of control over things like foreshortening as well. Yeah, I think that was probably what drew me away from OpenToonz, was just animating was really slow. I don't know what it is exactly about the process, but I think it's basically they designed their plastic system and their rigged animation system to kind of deal with like grass waving in the wind, that sort of animation, like little subtle foreground details rather than like actual character animation. And so they never needed it to be particularly dynamic. I think also you've got a point about the plastic tool. It's nothing like the deformers in Toon Boom. I remember when I first used the deformers in Toon Boom, I thought, wow, how do they get this deformation to just always look good, just by default? Like, there's no weight painting, there's no mesh that you can see at least or edit. It's just you put a little envelope around it and it just warps perfectly. Tahoma 2D have spoken about for a while implementing control point animation which would behave similarly to deformers, but it's not implemented yet and it still has the animation issue. Okay, that's interesting. I should keep up to date with Tahoma 2D. They're basically a fork of OpenToonz, right? Where they've added their own features and such. Yeah, I should make sure I don't you know, I need to keep up with what's going on. Because ultimately, as much as I've kind of built my channel around Blender, I also just want to use whatever the best tool is, or at least the best open source tool for whatever I happen to be doing. Okay, I've added these. Need to do the tail. Thigh L. Shin L. Oh, I just realized that everything I'm doing you can't see because it's off in the tiny little corner. Let me move myself up here so you can see what I'm actually doing. I'll try and remember to move myself back down when I'm done with this stage, because even though this is the most boring part of the whole process, it's even more boring if you actually can't see what it is that I'm doing. Alright, so we're going to add a new custom property, integer, foot L, 1 to 100. Who is worse, Adobe or Autodesk? That's a good question. I think I can't really say because I don't really have a lot of experience with both of them. So like my immediate reaction is to say Adobe's worse because I'm forced to use Adobe products all the time, and therefore I'm constantly seeing, oh my goodness, this is so terrible. But I think Autodesk is just as bad. I have no idea though. Maybe hopefully they're doing better. It's hard to do worse than Adobe. I think there's an argument, it's a very utilitarian argument, and I'm not a utilitarian, but there's an argument to say that because more artists rely on Adobe, that therefore when they do something bad, they're being worse than Autodesk. But I don't know. From our vision, you were just looking at Raymond's belly in a very sus way. Yeah, exactly. It's like I'm just staring at a blank screen, going from bone to bone, doing absolutely nothing. But no, I swear, I'm adding custom properties. It's important. It's strange. I put myself on Do Not Disturb, but I got a Discord notification. Have to look into that. Thigh R. I used Adobe Animate for one of my short student films, but the program is very buggy. Yeah, I honestly, I feel like that's the worst part of Adobe, is that they basically, now maybe I've got my history wrong a little bit here, but from my understanding is basically they made a bunch of money building Photoshop, which is a great tool. Photoshop's really top of the line, high quality tool. And then they use that money to buy all sorts of tools like Flash, which they then renamed to Animate, and all these other creative tools, so that they could be the creative company that, you know, meets all your creative needs. But then they still only put serious time and effort and money into developing Photoshop. And it means that when Animate has a bug, they just don't care. And it's like, come on. You got these users who are relying on you. You should, you know, actually put some effort into developing the software. Okay, now what else do I have to do? I think I might be done. With the custom properties, at least. I'm not done. Alright, so now time to start linking those up. Alright, now first I'm gonna just open up OBS, shift myself back down. Okay. Minimize that. So now I just need to right click, press N for new driver. Go to the object, paste that in there, go back, copy as new driver, paste it in there, new driver, paste. Yeah, we've definitely reached the repetitive, tedious point of rigging. Autodesk is very similar. Visual effects industry is almost run on it, but CAD earns them more money, so that's where the features flow. It's fair enough, but still annoying. I didn't know that they owned CAD. That makes so much sense, actually. Because I feel like I suspect that Autodesk isn't quite so single-minded as Adobe is focused on Photoshop. But I can totally see how, yeah, they're just not developing Maya because their money comes from CAD. But also, the small amount that they do develop Maya, it's because people are using Maya. If you use 3ds Max, which is basically the same tool, it's just that they bought both companies so they wouldn't have to deal with competition. If you're used to 3ds Max, I suspect that you don't get any updates, like, ever, just because they're focusing on CAD and Maya. Ooh, I accidentally opened up the, like, docs for how to do something in Blender. Didn't want to do that. Hang on. Okay. Copy this new driver, paste it in. Now, technically, I probably could have done this all with one custom property, but then the downside of that is I wouldn't be able to, like, turn the head to one angle while the body is at a different angle. So I want to be able to have everything separate like this. Maya was originally made by Alias Wavefront in 1998, right? Yeah. So I suspect that Autodesk probably made CAD. Like, I should probably do my research before saying this sort of thing. But yeah, I would imagine that it went through a similar sort of thing as Adobe, in that, in the same way that Adobe made Photoshop and then bought all these other vaguely related tools. Oh no, I don't have a custom property on this bone. Ah! In the same way, Autodesk probably made CAD, earned a bunch of money from CAD, and then they bought out Maya and 3ds Max and all these other, and like Sketchbook and like all these different creative tools. And now you've got no options except for open source, because open source is awesome. But it's probably possible to make an add-on for this. No, yeah, I think you're right. I think especially this part, I would, if I was gonna do. Let me rephrase. If I was gonna make like a whole TV show with a bunch of different characters, and I knew I was gonna have to rig each one individually, I would definitely automate this part. However, for just one character, it's not worth automating. You know? It's also, in my experience, when you do automate something with a Python script, it's really helpful to have done the process manually a bunch of times. So I don't really, I don't regret having to do this for each body part like this. Still need to do the tail. Autodesk did make 3ds Max along with Yoast Group in 1996. That's interesting. Okay, so they actually did make 3ds Max, and then I guess they just bought out Maya and just switched to that because maybe it was a better tool. I guess I can understand that a bit, but I am kind of like, wouldn't it have been cool if you leaned into the differences of 3ds Max and made it a viable competitor? Rather than just going, oh man, we can't compete with Maya, let's just buy them. You know? Because I have no doubt that if it was an option for them, Autodesk would 100% buy Blender. And there wouldn't really be much we could do about it. Luckily though, Blender is open source and that's not an option for them. They can't do that. Wait, is it done now? Okay, I think it's done. So do you guys want to see a really, really messed up turnaround? Where none of the grease pencil objects are going to update? Yeah, look at that. Really messed up. So we just have to go through and animate those, turning to each different view. Is there any way we can... Oh, that's so annoying. Okay. Oh, wait. Actually, I shouldn't be doing that on there until the end. Wouldn't it be cool if, yeah, grease pencil had shape keys? Yeah, it would be awesome. We'd, yeah, that'd be pretty amazing. You know, this is kind of the worst part of this method of rigging, is because technically before we had we had the turnaround and it looked really nice, and then we went and broke it, and now we have to fix it. But it's just part of the process. Like, that's just how it has to be. Now, this is because we had the arms linked as linked objects. It meant that we couldn't actually separate their grease pencil drawings. But now that they're using time offset modifiers, we should be able to, for example, on this hand here, rather than going from frame 1 to frame 2 like we did on the other one, which looks really weird, we can continue on until we find the pose we actually want. So that's frame 7. So I'm going to set this to frame 7 as well. This one's frame 7. Oh, maybe not frame 7 for that one. What frame? 9. They should all be set to frame 9. Okay. And now those should be set to frame 8. Even though we can't see it. This is definitely the most boring part of the rigging process, because we can't see what's going on. Or like, it's very small, subtle changes. Alright. Pretty close. I'm going to do the tail next. Alright, now I'm gonna do the legs. I'm gonna leave the head till last. This is gonna be fun to review later for 2D rigging. Yeah, it looks a bit messed up at the moment, so it's a fun time. Wouldn't it be awesome if Blender had the ability to Google? Yeah, sorry, I read that already. Yeah. Sorry. Oh, these should be flipped at this point. This one. Right? disabled that temporarily. Okay, we're back. Why is that like that? That should be in front, yes? Okay, good, 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 good. That's a weird shape for it to be. I feel like I kind of ignored the legs a bit while I was doing the turnaround. It's okay. Okay, now on this side, it's gonna go 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Well, it starts on 1, so that should really be 10. And equally here. I'm realizing I may not have to set each one individually. I might just be able to insert the first and last keyframe and then just go through and keyframe them automatically. Yeah, look at that. But I shouldn't have. Hang on. I just have to reverse that real quick. Alright, now we've just got the head to do, which is looking the worst of all of them. Let's do it. Set the first frame to 1, last frame to 10, and just keyframe them each frame. Oh, I wonder, can I just copy the data from this one and just paste it directly onto the data for this one? Surely, right? Yes! That's so much easier. Oh my goodness. I wish I'd discovered this earlier. Which one is harder to rig 2D character vectors? Moho, Blender, Grease Pencil, or OpenToons? Each of them has their pros and cons, but if I were to rank them in terms of easiest to hardest, I would say Moho's the easiest. Especially if, depending on what you mean by vector because although they all use vectors, Moho definitely leans hard into you're drawing with vectors rather than like organic strokes. Although these days you can do some cool stuff in Moho with in a similar way you would with grease pencil. Then I would say, I wonder if this is just my experience, but I would say grease pencil is next easiest, and then Open Toons is harder. Sorry for missing out on a lot of your videos. I normally was busy with art and comms when you were live. Your stuff is fantastic. Hey, no worries. I'm glad you could make it this time. Would you imagine Blender is the better choice if you really want to be able to do a lot more? For what I've seen, there's nothing in Moho that Blender can't do. There's nothing in Moho that Blender can't... The things that Moho specializes in, you will be able to do so much faster in Moho than in Blender. But at the same time, yes, you're quite right. Blender can pretty much replicate a lot of what Moho can do. And I would say, depending on what you want to do with your career, assuming you want to be a professional animator, I would say, yeah, learn Blender, because you can easily, even if you just start out with rigging 2D characters with grease pencil, you can easily transition into 3D. You can also do NPR. Blender is the perfect tool for a generalist. And I think a lot of people would say, don't be a generalist, you should specialize. I disagree, I think you should generalize in your skills. Because, like, for example, last year, I was hired as a retake animator on a TV show. That's pretty limited responsibility, but because I knew how to do so much, my responsibilities quickly increased to include other departments, including animation, rigging, visual effects, effects animation, that sort of thing. And it was probably because I learned to be a generalist, because I'd use Blender. Even though I rarely actually used Blender for that job. However, in addition to that particular role expanding, I think afterwards, this year, I got hired back to that studio to work on some of their smaller projects where they just needed one person to do a lot, like to take the project from start to finish. And as an animator, I am not more skilled than my coworkers. I would say I hold my own, but they're really good animators, right? I'm not anything special, and yet I think the reason I was hired back as opposed to them was because they specialize in animation, right? Where they're really good at animation, but when I was working there, I demonstrated that I would be able to take a small project from start to finish. So yeah, I think learning Blender is really good for just learning how to be a generalist. But you can do that in Moho too, and Moho's a great tool. I'm not going to ever tell someone not to learn Moho if they have the opportunity to. But I also just love Blender because I love the idea of open source, That's why I'm on Linux. That's why I switched to Blender, because with Moho, it's really expensive, but it's a one-off purchase. Like, unlike Toon Boom, where it's a license. Once you own Moho, you own Moho, and so as a result, I still have access to my Moho license. So why on earth would I switch away to Blender? Well, because I felt like it was necessary, or well, I just wanted to support open source. you've heard a lot of conflicting views on specialists and generalists. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Like, I think there's always room in the industry for generalists and specialists. So I guess anytime someone says, "Oh no, you have to be a generalist if you want to have a successful career," or "You have to be a specialist to have a successful career," it's all made up nonsense. There's ultimately you can do either, and and you can have a successful career. But I I think for me, I always want to be a generalist because I love every aspect of the animation production pipeline, right? So I would hate to miss out on rigging because I'm specialized in animation, or I'd hate to miss out on animation because I'm too busy doing effects animation, or something like that. Have you used COA tools, aka cutout animation tools plugin in Blender? I think I did a long time ago. I should try it again. I wonder how much they've kept it up to date, but it does seem really cool. I'd say it's kind of limited in what it can do. Like, obviously it's not going to interact with Grease Pencil, but it does look really cool because you can import Photoshop files. And although I would never use Photoshop, oh, closed source, Adobe, gross. No, but you can export Photoshop files from Critter. So I could draw a character in Critter, use COA tools to import it into Blender, and I think it also generates meshes. So then I could like add either a lattice or like a bunch of control points and have a lot of control over those images. But I do think it's mainly designed for either like video game style cutout animation or like motion comics, which is cool. And I think, you know, there's definitely a lot of fun you can have making motion comics, but it's not necessarily the route that I want to go down with my animation. So I should try it out again, but I think for now I'm happy just using Grease Pencil. All right, we've fixed the. Now we're actually at the exciting point now. Okay, so I'm gonna open up the asset browser, and under not all libraries, user libraries. I want to get rid of these. How do I? How do I get rid of these? Whoa, that's cool. Modify. Delete pose asset. Okay, that's what I want. Can I select multiple? Yeah, that's what I want. Okay, cool. Seems I can select multiple, but I can only delete them one at a time. That sucks. What happens if I press X? No. Oh well. Okay. Here's where we get to the exciting point. Because the grease pencil drawing that is being displayed is now driven by a property in the armature, right? It's going to be stored in a pose when I select all these bones and I select the keyframes, and over here, can you see that? Oh, I don't think you can see that. Hang on. Over here, we select create pose asset. So I'm gonna drag this to the top again. All right. Oh, it looks like I've got the bottom of the screen cut off as well. Oh, okay. Oops, sorry about that. Okay. That should be better. Okay, so now we can create pose asset. I will call this Raymond return 001. And I'll put it under user library catalog. I don't really understand all the ins and outs of the pose library or the asset library, but I should be able to create, and it creates something. Ah, wait, no. Let me delete the pose asset. I need to add a camera. Oh, it's really annoying. The shortcut to camera to current view. The shortcut for that is Control-Alt-0. But for some reason in Fedora, which is my operating system, the default shortcut for Control-Alt-0 is to like open up my daily notes or something, and I don't want to see that. Or to-do list. I don't want that. I'll have to figure out what's causing that, and I can delete it another time. Okay, so now that I've got a camera, it'll automatically generate an image of the pose when I create the pose asset. Create. Okay. Here's why I'm really annoyed. In solid view, for some reason, where the things overlap, there are these really weird artifacts. And I've only ever noticed this since I switched to Linux, so it must be something to do with the Linux version of Blender. But that artifact is showing up in the preview, and it's so much worse there. So that's really annoying. I'm going to have to sort that out at some point, but no worries. Anyway, so I'm going to go to frame 2, select all the keyframes, create pose asset, set that as 2, and we keep doing that for all the different views. I use Critter. It has 99% of what Photoshop has. I do very much like the 2D animation UI. I feel like I've had some problems with the 2D animation in Critter, but maybe that's just me. But yeah, no, I love everything about Critter, pretty much. It's not designed to be a photo editor in the same way as Photoshop is, but because I don't use it for that, like, it's perfect for all my drawing needs, all my thumbnail needs for YouTube. I might not even need to select the keyframes. I might just... Yeah, I don't think I need to select the keyframes. I think it just knows that the current pose that it's in, I want that pose to be saved. Yay! Okay. So this is exciting. In fact, I might join this and make a horizontal split so that it can be down the bottom. Asset browser. Okay. User library, please. Okay. So please ignore the terrible artifacts. Oh wait. I need to get rid of my screencast keys are now on the wrong window. Okay, now they're correct. Okay, cool. So, if we go beyond frame 10, where all the views are, and we say, I want to show frame 1, we just double click, and it pops up. And then, and we can insert a keyframe. And then we go forward in the timeline, and we say, actually, I want frame 2. And it just pops up, and we can insert a keyframe. And let's say I want to go back to frame 1, but only a little bit. So we can right click on it and say blend pose. And it's not perfect because ultimately, like, the grease pencil drawings are going to snap into place. But it's really good. Oh wow, you can even like extend it the wrong way. Okay, cool. But like, let's say I just want to go 10% and then insert a keyframe. And then the next pose, I'm gonna do that again where I blend it pose, but this time I'm gonna go to like 90%. And then the next frame, I just apply. Okay, I don't know why some of them didn't switch to the new drawings, but I can just snap them into place. Oh wait, and then I need to extend the timeline, hang on. Okay. So now we can, it's all, I don't want it blending between them, thank you. Okay. Oh wait, I need to remove all interpolation. Okay, cool. And so you can see how easy that is to snap from one view to another. And obviously, you know, there's more we can do to make it smoother, like add some overlapping action. And that sort of thing. Yeah. Really good for making smooth transitions. And ultimately, it's going to look a bit snappy if you don't put a lot of effort into, you know, the motions and the animation. But we're kind of done now. Like, we can even delete all of these keyframes and the poses will still apply. And let's say I want to blend to this pose. Whee! How much fun is that? We can almost smoothly transition from one pose to another. I think that's just so cool. I guess it's time for animation. How long have we been streaming? Only an hour and a half. We got time. Let's do like a walk cycle where he needs to pick something up. Like he walks up, he walks into frame, and then he sees something on the ground and he picks it up. Just really simple. And we'll try and use as much of the turnaround as we can with such a simple action. First of all, let's change the output so that it's 1920 by 1080. Move the camera back a bit. Oh, I think yeah, it's all good. Alright, let's do this. Okay, so first we need a side view. Or maybe a 3/4 view. Yeah, you should always avoid using side view. But let's make this leg a side view, shall we? And this leg a side view. Oh, that's not what I want. Why is it looking the wrong way? No? Did I not specifically ask for the side view? What's this items? 9, 8. Yeah, no, that should be the side view. Okay. Oh yeah, it just doesn't have keyframes for this stuff. Okay, hang on. We need to fix the turnaround. It's a little broken. So we just need a duplicate of this that's mirrored. Not on 9, on frame 8. Right over there. Over here? I flipped it, right? Yeah. Should be fine now. Yes? Yeah, looks right. I should have put more effort into how the feet looked, but it's fine. Okay. Oh, what changed there? What did I do wrong? I've got auto keyframing on. It should be fine. That's so weird. Okay. But it's keyframed. Why is it locking back? Okay, now it's not. Okay, I don't know what was the issue there. I'm sure I'll get used to this as I use it a bit more. Okay, so let's say 6 frames should be the passing pose, 12 frames should be the flipped contact pose, so 24 should be exactly the same, just offset a bit. And I want everything on constant interpolation. I use Shift E to like break down between 2 keyframes, really helpful. Now that I don't have much going on in the bottom right, I'm going to move my camera back down there. Okay. Okay, so rather than just being shifted along, I need the pose to kind of reverse. So let's... Why is the order a little off? Okay, no worries. Okay, he should be turning a little bit side to side with every step now. And now this is meant to look a little less, it is meant to be a little less flexible than my last style of rigging. So if some of the lines don't quite match up, that's okay. That's just the price I have to pay for speed. You know? Because I start on frame 1, everything should be, instead of frame 12, I should run frame 13. Okay. We'll do a passing pose where I'll lift them up a little bit. Yep. The overall physical pacing looks good. I think these should be a little bit more delayed. Should be slightly dragging behind the rest of the action. And maybe this as well. No, actually in the middle seems okay. Now I want to animate on 2s, so actually maybe this timing's not so great. I should 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, actually that's good. I just want to have a good down pose. That's annoying. So I need to, everything needs to be 2 frames slower. That seems like a lot slower. That's okay, he's a slow guy. So I'm getting a bit quiet. I tend to do that when I get into animation because I just love animation so much. So I get really focused. Oh, I've missed a lot of messages. Let me just quickly catch up. Have you used GIMP? It's an open source version of Photoshop. I have used GIMP. I haven't gotten the hang of it yet. I think I want to learn it, but it's really difficult to motivate myself to learn it because if it was just, I'm going to use GIMP because I can't use Photoshop anymore, I would be totally motivated. But because I can do everything I need in Krita, I just struggle to motivate myself to go, alright, I'm going to sit down and learn how to do everything I need to do in GIMP. Is this done in grease pencil object or is it a curve model? I don't know what you mean by curve model. It's not 3D. It's all grease pencil, and all rigged up with the armature system in Blender. The only thing Krita needs for basic photo editing is a remove tool that's good because most things are already doing great. But maybe remove and fill tool is better now. I don't know. Yeah, like do you mean like kind of content aware fill, that type of tools? Yeah, I agree. I think also like intelligently selecting objects. Like if you have a photo and you want to select a person, Photoshop's really good at going, that's a person. I know how to select that for you. Whereas in Krita, you kind of have to do it manually. I agree about the fill tool isn't great in Krita. I just go to settings and automatically expand the fill to 1 pixel. It makes a big difference. Oh yeah, that sort of fill tool. Yeah, no, that I do the same thing. I will, in fact, you don't even have to yeah, if you just go to the tool options on the like continuous selection tool, which is like the magic wand, in the tool settings, you can say, yeah, just expand by 1 or 2 pixels or however many pixels you want every time, and then every time you use that tool, it'll automatically expand. Whereas I think, maybe I'm wrong, but I think in Photoshop you have to select and then go select, modify, expand, and then choose how many pixels you want. It's a bit annoying in that sense. It is impressive. I envy your success in animation career so far. I hope you managed to go far with it. Thank you very much. I'm really happy with how things have been going. I was a little worried at the beginning of this year because I went through a few months where I couldn't find any employment, but I think things have been okay recently. And later this year, I'm going to work with that same studio that I worked for last year on a new TV series. And I'm really excited because it sounds like they kind of want me to... They're basically giving me a promotion. I don't know if it's going to come with any extra pay, but basically they want me to be a generalist, and I'm really excited for that. Why does that look weird? Why is this behind? Just gonna hide the camera briefly. What cartoon series do you want to create, and what do you want? And do you want it to be on Cartoon Network or Adult Swim, or Disney or Nickelodeon or YouTube, Netflix, Amazon? That's a good question. I'm in a bit of a weird position because I feel like a lot of people who get into animation are really passionate about telling stories, and to an extent I am too. But I don't really have like a story I want to tell, you know? So I'm kind of waiting to see how things take me. Maybe as I gain more life experience, a story that I'm really passionate will come up. Like maybe when I have a family or something. I don't know. But where I want it released, like if I were to make a show, and I think that would be a fun thing to do. I don't know where I want it released. I'm kind of upset at the moment about how the industry is distributing media. Like, I don't like streaming networks because basically companies like Netflix and Disney Plus kind of came in with this unsustainable business model where they're giving you all the television and movies that you could possibly want for really, really cheap, for a really cheap subscription. And as a result, everyone was like, I should buy that instead of doing what I've been doing, which is like buying CDs and going to the movie theaters, that sort of thing. But then, of course, that whole physical media industry died off. And now Netflix and Disney Plus are kind of free to just increase their prices and add ads to their things. And it's just, I think it sounded like it was a promise of a better system, and it's been so much worse. But at the same time, you know, it's kind of the situation we're in. So if I had the opportunity to create a show, I would, you know, do it on a streaming service probably, even though I'm not happy about what they've done to the industry, you know. GIMP is not good enough. Critter as a photo editing software is better than GIMP. I agree. I think recently GIMP had a big release, which is kind of like you know how Blender really changed at 2.8? I think GIMP recently had their version of that. And so it's a lot better. And then, of course, you've got like forks, kind of like Tahoma 2D for OpenTunes. You've got Photo GIMP, I think, is what it's called. So that's cool. But I haven't tried any of that. So I'm happy with Critter at the moment. I think it is probably the best tool for what I need. Learning doing 2D animation by hand is an awesome way to improve focus, quality, and drawing speed all at the same time. I joined an MAP once. I feel like I've multi-animated project, yes. Once and did 3 animation sequences. First shot for 2 weeks. Second 1 week. Third week 3 to 5 days to do. Yeah. Got where the money is and invest your personal projects. Yeah, in free time. Yeah, I think you're right. 2D animation, frame by frame stuff is really good for improving your skills. I hate how tedious it is, and I also just love the feeling of cutout animation, so I'm probably going to stay in that area, but definitely I love to do these like frame by frame exercises, just to kind of keep my drawing skills fresh, and also just like animation movement on point. I have the same problem. I always had something to do, a comic, a book, an animation, a game, but I always fall into this that I don't have anything to tell, and that demotivates me to learn more. Yeah, I wonder how much of it for me is social media. I really want to delete Instagram from my phone, but it's also the only messaging app that I have to some of my friends, so I don't want to delete it, but also I get sucked into it for hours sometimes. And I do wonder if I'm becoming less creative because of it, you know? GIMP starting to be usable. Yeah, that's what I've heard. I think I heard that before their recent release, everything was destructive. Like every, and what I mean by that is like in Photoshop or Krita, you can add an effect that's like a stroke effect. Whereas in GIMP, I hear, maybe I'm wrong, but I hear like every time you did an operation, it would be just baked in, and the only way to get rid of it or to change it would be to undo it and redo it differently. But luckily, it's non-destructive stuff's been added now, so that's huge. I fully agree 2D animation is incredibly tedious and it's not for me. I might prefer doing a 3D rig model. Yeah, no, I think that's fair enough as well. I think I've seen a lot of people online do some really cool stuff with 3D. Okay, I guess now I'm going to do the next passing pose. Man, I'm really taking some time on this. Have you ever watched Dead Sound Dinosaur series? It's really impressive with what he does with 2.5D animation. No, I should make a note of that. Oh. I'm going to open up text editor. Dead Sound Dinosaur series. Oh, it's not typing. Right. I'll keep that off to the side for now. I'll have to look that up later. Now, one thing I want to do is take the Y location and copy that over here. Now I'll copy the keyframes for the head over here. Alright. Now again, I'm going to copy the Y location for this pose. And what did the feet look like in the last up pose? Yeah, that looks right. Looks good. Oh, I forgot about the side-to-side movement. Let me just... Yeah, that looks right. Okay, that doesn't look right. I need to move that there. Move that there. Okay. I should do that over here as well. Location X. Yeah, that's not right. Should do that with these as well. Back with the eyes, I can basically just duplicate the entire thing. It's just the eyebrows that I need to just isolate the X location. Cool. I need to do the same thing over here. In fact, for the ears, it's probably better off if I duplicate it and I just... No, not duplicate. Oh, damn. I should just delete it and start from scratch on the ears. Okay. So after the down, it should be easing into the next pose, which means easing out of that, and then easing in, easing out, easing in, easing out, so it should be there. Okay. He's a slow guy, isn't he? I think it suits him though. Keyframes. Okay, I'm going to get rid of all the keyframes on here. But I'm going to duplicate the first frame so it snaps back. Actually, I'm going to duplicate to the frame afterwards. Just there. So that using this, I can snap it back correctly. Cool. That's close enough. So I will now duplicate all of that, and he loops it. Ah, lovely. Now, I want that repeated. So get the Y location. Okay, cool. Now I can move it back so that he ends up in the right spot. Okay, let's get a good pose in. I'm having so much fun animating this character. Always find walk cycles tricky to do. Yeah, they are quite complicated, but I feel like once you've done a few of them, you start to get the hang of it. Oh man, here's where I'd really like to redraw the eyebrows or something, but it just becomes difficult when you're using a time offset modifier. I might need to try that add-on that I talked about, someone sent me the other day. It might actually be perfect for this. Actually, yeah. Let's try it. Okay. So it's down here. It's called the frame jumper tool. Let's hope. If we do this, yeah, we'll keep it on the same layer. Create blank. No, let's not create a blank. Okay. Now the issue is it does actually take you to the end of the list of keyframes down here. But, oh, I just realized you couldn't see any of that. It's this little icon down here. Okay. Now let's do blank. And this guy, I will also do that. Yeah. Whoa, 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 whoa. Why did it do that? Oh, of course, it adds a keyframe to the time offset modifier, which is great because, you know, we love to see that, except I'm not keyframing the time offset modifier. I'm using custom properties to drive it. So it definitely speeds up adding new drawings, this add-on, but it does have a few shortcomings for this use case. You know, like, it does what it's meant to do really well, but for what I need it for, it's just not quite there. Hello, reference. Nice to have you here. I'm glad you can make it. And we'll do that. Oh, this is actually kind of tricky. I might actually move this one out to here, just so I can shift it and warp it in the context that I need it in. And then I'll shift it back. Let's do this. Yeah. And we'll move that out in front. And then we'll snap back, put that there, clear the keyframe, bring that out to 11. Okay, now new pose. Actually, let's just set this to be the default. Why did that not change? Oh, is that still hidden? No? Oh! Somehow the driver got disconnected. That was odd. The add-on didn't disconnect the others, so I must have accidentally deleted that manually. Now this is the downside of choosing not to use inverse kinematics, but I think it actually, even though it's a little slower, it is faster rigging, and I think it actually creates a more natural result when you have to rotate things manually. In 3D, it's totally not worth doing things manually. You want IK, inverse kinematics, but for 2D, it's actually not that bad. Did I disconnect these as well? Yeah, I did. No? I've just set these manually to be... Yeah, no, it's okay. Ah, I just realized I need to create all the different mouth shapes for this character. Good night, Mix Up. It was nice having you on stream. I'm glad you could join us. So that's how my process usually starts, but now I need to go through and add some overlapping action, because right now everything is in sync, and it looks really off and weird. So let's do that with the walk cycle first. Also I just realized that's why he's so slow. I'm on 12 frames per second, and I'm animating on 2s. Hang on, I need to go back up to 24. Oh, now he's speedy. I felt like things were going too slow. And it also didn't feel like it was on 2s. It felt like it was on 4s. And that's because it was. It was on 12 frames per second. And on 2s. Silly me. So that's the down pose. That's the up pose. That's the... No, that's the... Wait, no. That's the down pose. That's the passing pose. That's the up pose. And that's the contact pose. Okay, so I should be able to duplicate that. Oh, that looks really weird, man. You know what? I might just leave the walk cycle for now, and just alter the little reaction. Alright, I'm keeping it simple. And maybe I can offset the reaction of the head a little bit. So far, I'm happy with this animation, but so far we've only really used one view. So we've got to have him like turn around a bit. Maybe, earlier I said maybe he'll pick something up. I don't think you should do that. I think you should like look the other way. this way. Oh wait, I should have keyframed it. This way. Why are these not right? Why is it not right? Oh, it's just... Okay, that's weird. And this one? What's up with you? Why are you not showing the right number? Why? If I turn that off. Oh. That's why. Okay, fair enough. That's my bad. Bring that back a bit. I'm gonna move it this way. Bring that up a bit. I'm gonna tell it to blend towards the profile view. Blend. I'll just do a little bit. And this arm is actually going to lead the action a little bit. Don't get used to daily lives. Proceeds to have daily lives. That's... No. I didn't live stream yesterday. Right? I see what you mean, though. I'm also not gonna live stream tomorrow because I have work tomorrow. That looks really messed up. No worries though. I'm just gonna tell it to choose the front view and it automatically snaps into place. And you know what? I'm gonna do that with this guy too. And this. In fact, even these guys. I guess I should have just done it for the whole character. Hang on. Oh, I didn't insert a keyframe. Alright, that's fine. I'll just do it now. Now let me just make him tilt his head down a bit. Do you know that some animation companies created their own software to make movies, like Pixar with Presto and RenderMan? Yes, I did know about that. But it's and it makes sense because obviously Maya didn't exist when Pixar started making 3D animation, right? They were the first. They were doing it before anyone else was. And yet, think about how much better off they would be if they released Presto as open source. Right? It'd be so much better for everyone involved. And it's like, I know that RenderMan you can pay for, like it is available to use for public use, but obviously it's not open, it's not free. But just like, I can't imagine how small their profits would be compared to the other forms of making money are on RenderMan, right? So wouldn't it be nice if they actually released it open source? That's kind of like what Ghibli did with OpenToons. Exactly. It's like, it's just so much better. As long as they don't force subscription on you like Adobe and Autodesk. Yeah, that's fair enough. I think in that sense, you can kind of trust companies where their main thing isn't the software. Like, I'm sure RenderMan is much more reasonable than Photoshop or the Adobe Creative Cloud, rather. Just because, like, they don't really, comparative to the other forms of making money, they don't actually have a lot to gain by abusing their customers, right? May I ask you a generic question? What do you think of AI art and now AI animations? I have nuanced thoughts on AI art. I'm not a big fan in general, but I don't think it's going to be the end of the animation industry, you know? It's going to change things. It already has changed things. But I don't think it's going to be the big deal that everyone thinks it's going to be. Partly because I think even if AI was good enough to start replacing artists, like, significantly now, I think it would still take, like, a decade before they would actually be replaced, you know, en masse. So we've actually got time to think about this sort of thing. I also don't think... I think basically we need to wait for all the crypto bros and such to stop hyping it up so much, and then real artists can come through and go, okay, how can we actually use this as a tool without, you know, all the fear mongering around it replacing artists. Ooh, that's odd. Yeah, pretty happy with that. However, unfortunately, before I save the pose libraries, I was gonna save a new version. Before I save the pose libraries, I should have done the mouth shapes for the different views. That's okay. Alright, how long have we been streaming today? According to this, it's been... It doesn't say. That's odd. Oh no, it does. 2.5 hours. Whoa, big one. Alright. Fair enough. I reckon that's gonna be it for today. Now, maybe I might extend this animation to have him turn all the way around. But I think you kind of get the idea of how he, how this rig works. I had a lot of fun today. Oh no, there's a problem. Let me fix that first. Oh, I'm getting sucked back in. I want to add more like overlapping action to this tail. Also want it to rotate down a bit. Okay, now I'm done. I promise, I'm done. Just gonna move the camera up. Okay, now I'm done. Alright, I had a lot of fun today. I think we're gonna wrap up there. Let's see if I've missed anything. I'll never use AI for animation ever. I wouldn't speak so soon. I'm not a big fan right now, and especially the way that it gathers the data. I think there might be ethical implications there. So I wouldn't use AI animation as it is, especially not for anything I would publish online. I think it's prudent to try it out from now and then, to see what it's capable of, to see how much of a threat it is. But no, I see what you mean. But I wouldn't put such a generic, blanket statement on it. I think let's wait. Let's see how it develops. Let's see what happens when all the tech bros and everyone's moved on to the next big thing, and then the artists can pick over the leftovers and see what actually is valuable. Because I think I can see myself incorporating AI into my workflow once all the ethical implications and such have been worked out. You'll be going now. Have a good afternoon. You have a good afternoon too. If you're still around, though, I suspect you'll have left by now. I only will use FSR. I don't know what that means. For what I now for what I know, it's not AI, just math. Right? Yeah, I see what you mean. Like, there's a difference. Like, there are different types of AI, right? There's like the kind of AI that scours other people's data, other people's artworks and animations, and reproduces stuff. And then there's the type that it's basically just a filter, or that sort of thing. To make in-between frames for reference, and maybe NVIDIA upscale the video for high res. Yeah, I have no problem with... for in-betweening animations, use AI, so long as it's a tool. Like, what I don't like is when you see people post on YouTube a sequence from like a classic Disney movie, and they say, look, now it's 60 FPS, and it looks all jittery and awful, and half the in-betweens just look terrible. But if you're using it if it's like a tool incorporated into your software, that's awesome, because it just means that's a starting point. You can create the in-between, and you can clean it up if there's anything broken. Alright, good night, Golden. I'm gonna be leaving too soon because it's 4:30. Alright. I am a tech bro. I mean no disrespect. I like tech as much as anyone. I just meant like the people who are like overhyping stuff, or the geeks rather than the nerds, Like you're studying software engineering, and AI is a big part of what you're studying. I haven't figured out exactly how to see it. I get conflicted because I also want to be an artist. Yeah, I see what you mean. And like, when I say let's wait for the tech bros to move on, I'm not talking about people who are studying computer science who are actually doing the programming behind it. I think they're doing some great work. I'm more talking about the people who like to use the new shiny thing, but they've really got no idea what's going on behind the scenes. Yeah. Yeah. I would just, yeah, I'd be cautious of taking a stance on AI too strongly as of right now. All right, I'm really happy with this animation that we've created. Um, yeah, that's really exciting. That it didn't take that long to do. You can kind of see how this would be a good character for like a larger TV show or like a web series, something like that. One thing I need to do though is I need to create a bunch of different hand poses, and I need to create um, mouth shapes. Aside from that, pretty good going. Um, FSR is frame generation, right, from AMD that use the GPU to make in between frames in games, and also FSR is before the launch of GPT. See you tomorrow. Yeah, see you tomorrow, Santo. Yeah, no, that makes sense because like from a user's perspective, it feels like the same thing as generative AI, but it's not. It is just maths. So yeah, it's just estimating what should go in between, and in that case, yeah, I think used wisely, that's awesome. That's a great tool. You know, we've already got so many tools for automation. I think it's great. I call them crackheads of software. Yeah, the guys who hype stuff. Um, FSR needs the 3D data for in-betweens. That's interesting. So maybe you'd need something else for in-between 2D animation. But that's interesting. Okay. Cool. Alright. I'm going to call it a day. Thank you guys for joining. It's been a fun time. I'm really happy with the animation and the rig. So